And who are you, miss?
Hi, I'm Suzanne Sheldon.
Okay, and for people who don't know you, what do you do?
So in the board gaming community, I do a couple of segments now for the Dice Tower Network for some of their YouTube shows. I do a segment on Board Game Breakfast about board game apps, and for the just released today premiere episode of Board Game Blender, I'm also contributing to that as well, and having a lot of fun. It's got its ups and downs, but it's tremendously fun. I also am really active on Twitter in the board gaming community, and I help coordinate we like to call it a virtual gaming convention called Gen Can't to kind of support those who cannot go to Gen Con.
Yeah, I was reading about that last year. You were giving prizes and stuff out, and I thought it
Yeah,
was pretty cool. I
it's a
didn't
lot
make
of
it to
fun.
Gen Con last year. I don't know if I'm going to this year either again, but yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
It was awesome how the community just dove in headfirst and got behind it and became really active with it right away. And then board game publishers got, kind of got on board right away and supported it. So yeah, we gave away prizes, everything from community members who made dice bags by hand and game packs by hand to publishers who were giving away copies of like the new hot releases. Like AEG gave away copies of Doomtown when they were just releasing it, and it was a pretty phenomenal experience. And we're hoping that this year when we do it, now that we've had some time to plan a little bit, it'll be even better.
Cool. So how did you get started in the hobby in board gaming?
God, I don't even know if my memory goes back that long. I started, it's almost cliche. I started by getting into Magic the Gathering back in 94. So you can do the math and figure out I'm pretty old. But yeah, I live in the Seattle, Washington area. And for those who know, Wizards of the Coast started in Bellevue, Seattle, Washington area. So back in the mid '90s when Magic was just getting going, the artists, the game designers, they were all local, and we had a couple of local game stores, and there's this game store called Games and Gizmos, and I would go and as much as I could be in the back of this game store, playing with Shivan Dragons and dual lands and things that we, didn't think were any big deal. And if I'd held on to those cards, I'd be rich now. But oh well. So yeah, I started with that, and then I was playing at a board game store, and then to fill time or to try new things, we started playing some of the board games they had there. And the first two board games I really played, like hobby style board games, were an abstract game called Quarto, and then a little game called Robo Rally. And I was pretty much hooked immediately.
Uh,
And the rest is history.
now, now, what about the modern board games got you hooked? I'm just curious on that.
What about the modern board games? They were different. They had interesting theming. They worked your brain in a different way. They were really social. They were hyper competitive. Um, and I think that those are things that I'd played traditional board games with my family, and my family's a big uh, card game family. So bridge, canasta, euchre, pinochle, those were all big in my family. So I was kind of had a, you know, gaming background, so to speak. But obviously, things like Robo Rally were completely different than anything like Parcheesi or Life or Hearts. And I think the challenge and then also the social dynamic of the competition was just really compelling for me.
Okay. Yeah, I was curious. For me, Pandemic was my gateway game. Like I started in the hobby about 3 years ago, I guess.
Hmm.
And when I played Pandemic, even though I played it wrong the first couple of times, I, like you said, I did some of the mass-produced ones. My wife did a lot more of them growing up than I did. She would play with
Hmm.
her mother and all that, but it was just surprising to me how much a board game can do. Like you were saying, using your brain a different way and the mechanics. That's I think what really got me with Pandemic. Um, but yeah,
Well, sure. I mean, for somebody who's never been exposed to something that wasn't done by like um, Hasbro, or Milton Bradley, Pandemic would be a mind blower, right? That would just be so crazy and really cool. That's a good gateway game. I like that one.
Yeah, yeah, so do I. Although I put it away from time to time not to get burnt out. Well, I got 300, but
Well, and then the new expansion is due out pretty soon, isn't it? The
yeah, and so is the
State of
Legacy. Yeah,
Emergency.
yeah.
Oh yeah, Legacy. Oh,
I'm waiting. I never played Risk Legacy, and I'm debating on Pandemic Legacy for the same reason. I don't know if I could get it to the table 15 times, or the same
yep.
people to the table 15 times. So I'm still up in the air with that. Yeah.
That's my concern too. I have a couple of really great game groups up in this area, but we tend to like to float to different games and try different things. So playing, that game again and again and again. So I don't know. I haven't played Risk Legacy. I don't know about Pandemic Legacy. But the one that might really pull me in when it comes out is Seafall. I might not be able to resist that one.
Yeah, yeah, it does look quite promising. Yeah.
Mm.
So, how did you get started on Board Game Breakfast?
It was a lot easier than people may think. Um, I was a fan of the Dice Tower and listened to the podcast and then watched the video reviews when there's a relevant game that I wanted to learn about. And then Tom started Board Game Breakfast. I'm like, this is really cool. It's a variety show. But one of the things I've noticed, and maybe you've noticed too, is that our hobby tends to be male dominated. And even if there are a lot of women gamers in the board game media world, it seems like the ratio of board game media people, male to female, was a little like more dramatic than even like gamers, like guy gamers and girl gamers. It seems like there's more even balance, whereas that like in the media, it just seemed like there's a lot of guys out there. I mean, there are people like Rhiannon and Marguerite Cottrell and Tiffany Ralph and Tim and Carmen from Grey Elephant, etc. But or Pink Elephant or Grey Elephant. I always get that confused. But it's just seemed like there weren't a lot of women doing it, and so I wrote to Tom and I said, hey, could you in Board Game Breakfast with your audience and your poll in the community reach out to the community and encourage more women to get into both the hobby and into producing content. And Tom, in his very Tom way, wrote back and he's like, look, I've got 6 daughters. I'm totally on board with this. I love that idea, but I'm a dude and I have no credibility on that subject. He really felt strongly that because he was a male, he couldn't speak with like authority on it, I guess. And basically said, but hey, if you want to do something, do it. And I was like, oh, okay, I could try that. And so I did. And I'll tell you, I'm not great at it. I'm strictly amateur. I have nothing to do with media production, content production, and my earlier stuff is really horrible. It's embarrassing for me to go back and look at it. But I'm glad that Tom was open, to having a rank amateur producing barely acceptable content, but he was willing to include it in the show and give me a chance, and I always am really grateful to him for that.
I don't think you give yourself enough credit. I don't think you're as bad as you think you are. Although I did hear about your books for a tripod and stuff like that. So I'm just
yeah, a little grassroots, shall we say?
They're only like $10. I mean, you could go to Walmart and pick them up.
I know. I'm just this is the thing. I am so lazy. You have no idea how lazy I am, and that just sounds like effort. You have to put clothes on. You have to get in the car. Ugh. Forget it. I got graphic novels up here. I'll just stack them up and they're perfect.
Yeah, it's a learning process. Like, even mine, I'm the same way. The older ones are really bad. The newer, they're getting better. It's not where I want them to be. I still got something in my head, and being, and it's not that. But it's a learning process, you know.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh. And if I had known how much work, I mean, speaking of somebody who just said she doesn't like to go to effort, right? If I had known how much effort and how much work it takes to produce even the simplest stuff, I may never have created that first segment because I mean, especially if you're not, like, if that's not what you do for a living in some capacity, like, it's a huge learning curve. So I
yeah,
imagine it takes time, right? You have a vision, and it's hard to make it match.
yeah, it is. And you're right. You know, I was talking to Jamie about this the other day. The, he's thinking about doing videos, you know, and he thinks I don't think he said he worked in TV before, so he might be, but the editing, you know, I don't know if he understands how much energy is involved, you know.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I'm sure it'll be great, you know, no matter what he does. But
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, I would watch the heck out of that, and so I'd encourage them to do it. It'd be
uh,
fun. Those guys are. I love the Secret Ball. They're so great.
yeah, they are. They're good guys too. I've met all of them. I normally play with Chris and Jamie. Um, but they've taken me, and like I said, I'm newer to the hobby, and they're real patient with me. All the guys up there at Beer Mongers are, regardless of whether it's Jamie or Chris. You know, and they're just there to have a good time and drink beer. You know, that's basically what it is.
I think Beer Mongers has to be like one of the most coveted board gaming nights in the country, right? I mean, because the guys talk about it all the time, and the group's grown. It's such an awesome location that you can just like kick back a beer and have some food, and then play awesome games with great people. And they talk about it like every show, and they post pictures on it on social media, and it looks like so much fun. I mean, I would love to go, right? But I think you're lucky that you get to go to such a great game night. That's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like I said, the guys are great. I I don't think it's as exciting as people think it is. You know, I
Right?
mean, we are playing board games after all. You know, a lot of times we're picking stuff up after Chris knocks it on the table, and we're thinking about our next move. You know, but
That's
nah,
awesome.
it is a good time though. Yeah, well, next time you're in the Philly area, you know,
Yeah.
well, they're about 2 hours out of Philly, but yeah,
Mhm.
the Lancaster area. Yeah. It's about an hour 20 minutes from me. You know.
Okay. But that's
Um,
probably not too unmanageable for a good night of board gaming.
no, I'm in Newark, Delaware, and like there's a group around the corner from me. I went to once, and it was a bunch of college kids, and I didn't understand their humor, and so it's like I could either go up there, which is an hour 20 minutes away, or I could go to Philly, and there's one in University City, and again, it would be a bunch of college kids. I'm assuming I've never been to it, and that's about an hour 10 minutes. So it's one of them too. You know, I could go to Baltimore too, I guess. That's only like 45 minutes away, but I never really thought about Baltimore. So, um, like I said in the Unpub video, who wants to go to Baltimore? You know,
Poor Baltimore.
it, it's not. I grew up in Philly, and Baltimore kind of reminds me of like Philly's twin sister, you know, and I hate Philly, so I couldn't wait to get out of the city, you know.
Yeah, being a West Coaster, the whole geography of the East Coast is so different, right? Because I'm in Washington State. You got Washington, Oregon, and California, and I mean, the idea that you drive from one state to another state for a game night is basically incomprehensible to us because like it's gonna take me 3.5 hours to get to Oregon. So, um, so you talk about like Baltimore and Philadelphia, and it cracks me up.
Yeah, yeah. Me and Jen, we're actually talking about going out west. I like to go out there, see the redwood forest and stuff like that.
We've been talking about like the shore and stuff like that. I mean, we got cool shorelines here too.
Uh, yeah, my shore's the Jersey Shore. I'm right outside of Cape May, but it's not the West Coast. Yeah, one day we'll make it out there,
Awesome.
but we'll see. So I got off track. Now, what made you decide to do the app programs on the Board Game Breakfast.
Oh, so when Tom, said I could produce content, I was thinking, what could I do? And, really with my original goal of trying to promote the hobby for women, I was like, oh, I could go there and talk about women in gaming and all this other stuff. And I'm like, that is like the worst idea ever. Like who the heck wants to listen or watch that, right? And two, that's not a very extensible topic, probably. Um, and and three, like, you can just show by example, so to speak. So then I was like, well, what can I do that's a little different that would add value as opposed to just, more board game reviews? Because let's face it, there's a lot of great board game reviewers out there, and I didn't want to just be extra noise. So I realized that there was kind of this gap, right? Because one of my things out here is I don't get to play as many board games in real life as I'd like to. I mean, I don't get tired of playing board games. I will physically wear down. Like if I go to a convention, like at some point I need to sleep, but I don't get tired of playing the board games, right? And so out here I just don't, like, I wasn't getting enough of it. So I had an iPad and all these great board games are coming out for that. So I realized, hey, I've already got an iPad full of like 100+ board games, and I don't see, certainly there's like some people like, Brad on BGG is doing great segments on stuff like that. There's a couple people doing really great stuff on board game apps already, but nobody on the Dice Tower. And certainly it wasn't as widely covered in general. And so I thought it would be a good niche where I was really super knowledgeable about it. I work in digital marketing anyway, so I had some technical knowledge. I was an aficionado of the apps anyway, so I could speak about it with authority and knowledge, and it kind of filled a gap in the network. So that's kind of where I landed on it.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Like, well, I think, yeah, it was you. I tweeted. I don't understand that. Like, I'd rather play a physical copy. That's just me. And I have tried apps. I have tried apps a couple times. It's just they don't hold my attention for some reason. I don't know why, but they don't. But
and that's totally fair.
Yeah,
I mean, I get that criticism a lot. Like, people are like, oh, like people will say, oh, I don't watch your segment because I have no interest in that. And yeah, I get it.
Yeah, but you explain why you do the app thing quite eloquently in that tweet. I think it was a tweet. And I'd like to thank you for that. Like, I just didn't understand why people would be attracted to apps, but never really thought about not being able to play the physical copy, until recently. My wife's been quite busy with her father, so my gaming days went from 3 to 1 a week.
Totally. And I mean, I will tell you that I would have to be really sick or really not wanting to put on pants if you were to say, hey, you want to go play Imperial Settlers or do you want to play Agricola on your iPad? And I mean, I'm going to choose a game night with people every single day. But, it's nice to have options. And I mean, I think I'm spoiled in that my area is full of board gamers. We have amazing board game stores. We have phenomenal board game cafes and just a huge community of board gamers in general. So if you want a game, you can usually find it out here. Whereas I know nationwide or worldwide, there are unfortunately a lot of people out there that just don't have as many options to go out and grab a game night. And, and I see them on BGG or I see them on forums or even on Twitter. And these are people that unfortunately don't have as many outlets. And so, it's almost like they don't have any choice. So it's nice that it's there as an option for them, I think.
Yeah. Now, in your opinion, what was the best app of last year?
Last year, board game apps are getting really good. And so last year it was a tough choice for me. As I was trying to rank them, I ended up kind of landing between Sentinels of the Multiverse and Galaxy Trucker. And I ended up going, if I had to pick one, like the top one, I ended up picking Galaxy Trucker for a few reasons. But Sentinels is awesome too. And there were just so many good board game apps that came out last year, which is good news for me. But Galaxy Trucker was just so well done. It definitely rose above. Have you ever played the game Galaxy Trucker? Not you, even not the app, but just like the regular game.
Yeah, I have it. It's John likes it quite a bit actually. Um, I don't love it, but I don't hate it. It's like it's okay, but generally likes it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I really like it, but it's got that whole. I've played it in real life and I really enjoyed it. I like the puzzly shipbuilding part to it, I guess. I find the timer very stressful. um, but I was like, when I heard they were doing a Galaxy Trucker app, I thought, how the heck are they going to do that? Like, that's like, how are they going to make this real-time shipbuilding thing happen? And I think that that's what edged Galaxy Trucker up for me, is that I think they did it in a really creative and impactful way, right? They end up doing this thing where you get action points, and if you play against the AI, it's real time, and you just you're tapping on things and they're flipping over and you're moving them into your ship. But for online play against other people, they have these action points, so that nobody can get too far ahead, and you're kind of pacing each other, kind of like you would in real life. And then it's more about the strategic choices about what pieces you keep and what pieces you toss away, and things like that. But I think that solving that gameplay challenge in a digital sphere was an impressive feat from Czech Games. So I give them props for that.
Okay. Yeah, I do like the puzzly part of Galaxy Truck, like you say. Is after that kind of bothers me. It's
right.
Like you're helpless. Whatever happens.
Yeah,
But
it's this weird thing where it's like you work really hard under pressure to make this amazing ship, and then a flip of a card, right? A random card,
yeah.
and then random dice rolls can blow your ship to pieces. And kind of like with XCOM, right? I mean, you can be as smart and make as good decisions as possible during the time phase, but then the roll of a dice, the roll of a die at the end can determine success or failure, and a lot of people hate that.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't played XCOM yet. I screwed up when I purchased it. There was a pre-order on the purchase, and I didn't realize it, so it's being held up till this pre-order is done. So I'll probably get here
That's the worst.
like in March or something. I think I'm waiting. It's for Agents of Smurf, the second edition. That's what's holding it up.
You're gonna be waiting.
Yeah, but we'll live and learn. Yeah. I just wasn't paying attention. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, one of the main reasons for the apps. This is my phone. It's a 3G, and that's you can't see anything on it. That's one of the reasons. Like I wanted to Agricola. I did download the app for Agricola, because I know I'll never get Jen to play that. But that was the main thing. I don't have an iPod or pad rather or anything like that. So
yeah.
Do you find that companies are getting better with that, like adjusting, scaling the size from a computer or iPad to a phone?
I do. I think they're getting better about it, but I also think they're making harder choices about what they're doing. And I see a lot of complaints about app availability for Android and how few are available for Android, versus how many are available for iPhone, like iOS. And one of the factors is actually what you were just talking about. With Android, they don't have that tablet phone distinction, so they expect natural scaling. And then Android has literally thousands of devices, right? Because any manufacturer can produce an Android phone, and they do in any size and scale, plus the tablets. Whereas with Apple, they have you can say like you have a 3G, a 4G, a 4S, whatever, but I mean they still have like 15 relative devices and scales and sizes to deal with, so it's a lot easier for them. So I think that they are getting better, but I think we're seeing a lot more situations where they're choosing to release on only one platform, because the more complex the game, the harder it is to create one app that scales for that kind of big, phone versus tablet screen ratio. And so like with Galaxy Trucker, um, they released the iPad version first, but then like a month later they came out with an iPhone specific, and a lot of people were upset because they're like, hey, I bought the iPad one and I have an iPhone too. Why can't I just use both? Why don't you make it universal? And I think ultimately part of the challenge is that they just can't, like the programming, Apple has rules about like app weight and for like cellular download and all this stuff. I mean, those are all factors that they have to take into account. And so they created a separate iPhone app, you know. So the good thing is you can play it on your iPhone or your iPad. The bad thing is it's not like a one-time purchase. You have to get 2 separate ones. I don't know. But I think they're getting better. That 3G phone, but I mean, and this is going to be a complaint about any technology. Like, I have an iPad 1, and I did have to upgrade because even though it was only like 3 years old, it was basically obsolete.
Yeah.
Which sucks.
Yeah, me and Jen were talking about that with my phone. Like I said, it is the 3GS. And she's like, why don't you upgrade? I'm like, because it makes phone calls. That's really all you want it for. You know, it's the only reason I got the iPhone is because she got one, and it's just easier with the chargers and all that.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Totally.
But, so now this board game Blender, what's your segment about on that one?
You know, that is a great question. We're just 1 episode in, and one of the things that's different about Board Game Blender as opposed to Board Game Breakfast is Blender is going to have topical or themed episodes. And I've been talking to Z and Tom about doing solo gaming, right? Because I play a lot of board games on my own too, like, you know, play them on my apps, but I also like Friday or Onirim or Imperial Settlers or Skyline, you know. I'll just play them by myself. And nobody's really talking about that on the Dice Tower Network, so I thought that would be a good thing. So I might try to lead that way, but with thematic episodes, it's a little harder to, you know, shoehorn that in. So I'm not sure. If you have any suggestions, I am open to them.
Yeah, I don't know. So, yeah. I actually just started doing some solo gaming myself, like I said, with the stuff with Jen's dad going on. But I enjoy it more than I thought I would. You know, it surprised me. You know, like Legacy, I just did the solo variant for that. Testament of Duke the Crazy, I just did solo with that. And another good one is that Imperial Settlers, or Imperial Settlers.
Yep.
Robinson Crusoe, although it's punishing.
Yeah, the thing with Robinson Crusoe that holds me back is the setup and breakdown. Yeah. You know, a little more intensive.
Yeah,
great game.
I used to just leave it on the table, but like I was saying before we started, I got a kitten, and he's recently started stealing dice and cubes and batteries and.
But so cute, right? I mean, like the cutest little thief ever, right?
Yeah, for now. I'll be looking for a new home soon.
No, not even.
It's an experience. Now you have children. Do you game with them?
I do. I have my daughter just turned 6, and my son is turning 3 next month. So, my daughter and I, I'm introducing her to the hobby. We play a lot of Haba games. It's interesting. You know, she's very bright. You know, she's a great reader. All this other stuff. She's very intelligent. But every time I try to push her to the next level, you know, sometimes I shouldn't read things online, but you know, I read online and people are like, yeah, my 6-year-old is playing Agricola with us, you know, and things like that. I'm like, oh, well, I'll try Agricola with my, you know, oh no, you know. So it's been interesting to try to find the right games, but there are a lot of great, interesting, on some level, games that I can play with her that I enjoy too. So a lot of the Haba dexterity silly games are actually really fun. And Yellow started this series, I think, last year. These storybook games. One's called The Three Little Pigs and The Tortoise and the Hare. And she loves those. And I like playing them. Like, I actually enjoy playing those kid games with her, so we're having a lot of fun with that. But, like, for example, Crossmaster Junior I got, because I really like Crossmaster Arena.
Mhm.
And we gave that a try, and she wasn't quite on board with that yet, so I might have to try again in maybe a year or so on that one. But it's super fun. My son is like your kitten, right? He would
Yeah,
be shoving the dice up his
yeah.
nose and tearing up the cards, and so I mostly just my daughter and I play games when he naps. But
Right.
soon.
Now, what was it with Crossmaster? Was it the level of complexity, or the direct conflict, or?
She definitely uh, she definitely likes to win, but she doesn't like direct conflict. I've noticed that, which is interesting because I love direct conflict. But so that's something I'm definitely attuned to. But with Crossmaster, I don't. It's not that difficult of a game. Um, I think I think it actually might be a little puzzly, right? Because the way the game works is that you have movement points,
Mhm.
and you're like, it has different scenarios and they get harder. But in even the easiest first scenario, you've got a little figure and a little pet, and you're trying to get your figure on your opponent's pet, and you have so many movement points to do that, and so you have to figure out which one am I moving and how am I moving them. And I think I'm betting that puzzly um, aspect frustrated her and wasn't clicking with her. So I have to think about that. It's cute. I mean, we opened the box and she was like, "Oh, this is so great." Um, so I'll be able to get her to try it again soon, I think. But I think the thing is just like with getting your spouse to game, right? Because my spouse doesn't play board games at all. Is um, you can't you can't force it, right? You can't make somebody like board games or make somebody like a specific type or specific board game. And so I never want to push her, right? I want it to be always a positive thing for her and fun. I have no problem with letting her lose and teaching her how to be a good winner and a good loser. But if she's not having fun, I'm going to back off because I want it to be, a good thing for her. And if she doesn't end up liking board games, I'll be disappointed, but that's okay too. But I think she'll like them. She likes them.
Now, do you like dummy down your gameplay when you're playing with her? I heard a lot of people talk about this. Some say you should, some say you should. I don't
Hmm.
have, I don't know. Yeah.
I do, on occasion. Some games I do, some games I don't. Animal Upon Animal. Have you ever seen or heard of that game?
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I play as hard as I can on that game with her and lose. Um, Ghost Blitz is another game. These dexterity games, right? She's young and she's fast, and I'm old and slow. Um, uh, like Ghost Blitz, I flat out lose to her fairly, and I'll sometimes win. So I don't dumb down my play there because she doesn't need it. But um, sometimes, like with Three Little Pigs, for example, um, she has to make the choice about, do I keep on rolling, or I could pick a brick, a wood, or a straw piece. What do I want to pick? And I may not dumb down the play, but I may see her reach for a suboptimal piece, and I may stop her and say, okay, I just want to make sure your choices are clear. Like, this one has more points and would help you, and this one would let you complete a house so you could actually get the points, because remember, you can't get points without finishing. And so it might kind of like strategically help her realize her options, because and sometimes she switches, and sometimes she's like, no, I want an all wood house, so she'll pick the suboptimal piece, and that's fine too. um, but yeah, sometimes I will dumb down my play a little bit, because again, I'm significantly older and more experienced than her, and it's not an even playing field, and I want it to be fun. But I'm a firm believer that you got to let your kids lose. You have to teach them to be good losers and good winners. It's so important. Sportsmanship is super important to me. Um, so it's kind of, I pick and choose my moments.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, I don't have children, but my niece and nephew, I play with them once in a while. And I was just curious on your take on that.
How
They're
old are they?
they're a little older. My nephew's 12 now,
Mm-hmm.
and the niece is like 11,
Mm-hmm.
or is it 13 and 12? It's something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I started, like I said, when I first got in the hobby, I started to, get them into, get them a board game for a birthday or whatever. But some of them, like Sentinels in the Multiverse, I tried out with my nephew. I thought he would like it. It's a little too fiddly for him, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't had a chance to sit down and actually show him how to play it though. So he didn't know if my brother would get it because my brother's a little impatient. So but a friend of mine, I also he has kids, and I also started getting them into it, like you were saying with the Taurus and the Hare and stuff like that. They're a little younger. They're like I think it's 5 and 8 or
Mm-hmm.
10. So I started with them too. And I do try to play with them. I was just
When you play with the 5-year-old, do you hold back a little bit?
um yeah, a little bit. I mean, it's again because I don't want to destroy her and not make her ever want to play a game again. It's but I do that with new people, regardless.
I think that's a really great point, actually. Um, if you've got a new person that's trying a strategy board game for the first few times and they've never played the board game and you've played it 50 times and you're teaching it and then you just roll them like no, like that's a good point because you don't want it to be a negative thing, right? And if not making the optimal move every single time and min-maxing the heck out of the game for a noob, it's probably a nice thing to do.
Yeah, yeah, like I say, I do try. Although they probably beat me anyway because I suck. It's like
It's funny because I said it all the time, like I love playing board games. I lose all the time. Like for something I'm so bad at, it's weird that I like it so much.
Yeah, I'm the same way. There were a few games that I was really good at with like the family here, and then Jen would steal my strategy and tweak a little bit, and that was the end of that. But for the most part, especially on the channel, because I'm focusing on everything but the game usually. The cameras, the microphones, Jen getting the rules right, but
Mhm.
it's I'm really bad at them. uh, I've gotten better, but it's like I said, that's why I'm glad them guys at Beer Mongers are patient.
As long as you're having fun, man.
Yeah, that's really what counts. Now I've been getting into Ameritrash games again. I'm curious, what's your preference, Euros or thematic? I'm sorry, thematic games or
I like the term. I saw this, so I went to BGG Con for the first time last year and had a blast. And they have ribbons you can put on your badge that they just give you, and you can tell them which ones you want. And they had one that said Omni Gamer on it, and I was like, I want that one. That one's me because I truly love almost all types of games. People sometimes you get asked like, "What's your favorite board game?" And I think back, and maybe it's sentimental, but Robo Rally, I still love Robo Rally. Kalis, which is pretty well known for being a fairly dry Euro, is absolutely one of my top games. But at the same time, like I loved XCOM, and that's about as Ameritrashy or Amerithrashy or thematic as you can get, right? And I loved it. And so TikTok Woodman, that stupid dexterity game where you're hitting like little logs with an axe. Like, love that game. It's so lame. It's so much fun. So I definitely like to think of myself as an omni gamer. It just kind of depends on what mood I'm in. I don't know. What games do you prefer?
I'm in the same boat as you. I'll play anything. It's just recently I've been playing more thematic games than Euros.
Mm-hmm.
It flip flops back and forth, but I do enjoy all sorts of games. I've been getting into like medium weight euros before that. I was on a kick with them, or heavier
Hmm.
euros.
Hmm.
Just depends on the mood, I guess.
Yeah, I think the thing that gets one of the things I actively dislike most in games are uh, downtime, and I kind of caveat that in that like when you're playing a heavy euro, it may not be your turn, but you're thinking, right? You're actively in your turn. So I don't mind that kind of downtime, but like for example, Eldritch Horror, which is really thematic. Um, I like the game, but I really struggle playing with it with some people because they take so long to take their turns, and I'm just sitting there going,
Yeah.
because you're not really being super strategic. It's cooperative, all this other stuff. So, um, I definitely lean away from games that have a lot of non-thinking downtime. And then games that have early player elimination, um, that are longer. So, Bang, right? The original game Bang.
Hmm.
I I will actively avoid that game. Bang the Dice game is awesome because it's fast and I don't mind the player elimination there, but like Bang, man, you can be eliminated before it's even your turn in a bigger game. And then the game can drag out for that, and thanks for that. So I don't care what type of game, but those are probably my two big red flags for games that I dislike.
Okay. Yeah, I've never played the original Bang. The dice game I did. I didn't even realize there was an original one until somebody. I think it was Ruben told me that. Yeah, I didn't realize there was. It's kind of the newcomer thing. Now I'm kind of cult of the new. Um, Sorta. Lately, I've been trying to stop that. Like I've been buying older games. I just bought Le Havre and a couple other older games. Um, where do you find yourself? I think for me, for a while, it was just exploring what I liked, and then it was I'm a mechanics junkie, I think, and it was just looking at different mechanics.
Hmm. No, and I mean that's awesome. Yeah, I think when you're getting into the hobby, trying more is a good thing. Yeah, I'm probably pretty heavily Cult of the New.
Hmm.
Um, uh, there's just so much diversity in theme and in mechanics and dynamics. It's just there's so much to try, and there's so many new experiences that you get to do through board games. Like for example, um, Alchemists. Is unique. It's this deduction game, a worker placement game. It has the app integration. It's a brain burner. But then there's a game that just came out called Witness that Dan King, the board game geek, the Game Boy Geek, uh, introduced me to at BGG where it's like 4 players only, and it's like a lot of whispering at each other and clues, and it's so much fun. And I've never seen or played anything like it. Um, it's games like that that just, they keep you going. Um, but like I was listening to Donald Dennis and Eric from Onboard Games on rolling dice and taking names just on my commute, and they were talking about the value of older games and how with the cult of the new and with kind of this volume of board games that are being released and how hard it is to keep up, especially for somebody like that's like reviewing like board game media, that what you end up missing out of is like digging into a game and playing it to death and really getting into the strategies and exploring all the options and learning really how to play it really well. And I think there's definitely something to that, and I struggle with that. But yeah, for now I'm Cult of the New, and looking let's see what comes at Gen Con this year.
I don't consider myself a reviewer. It's funny, but you said that. But I I have talked to other people. Like I was curious how many times they would play a game before they
Hmm.
would do it. And I understood it depends on the game. Even with the videos, it's some games I'll play twice before I throw a video up. Sometimes it's 5 or 6 or 7. Depends on the complexity and all that. But I was surprised the average isn't. The average reviewer it isn't that many times. So, it's usually under 5. So I was surprised about that. Then one of them said after I think they said after 5 turns it's a critique and not a review. So
that's interesting. I mean, I think that it's one that I'm not a board game reviewer or a playthrough specialist like Rodney or you or anything like that. It's I can't imagine the pressure to keep up with the volume, and I think part of it's probably self-imposed, part of it may be competitive with other reviewers, and part of it is just meeting the demands of the community, right? People want to see the latest and the newest, because they're cult of the new, or they're curious. They want to know how to spend their money. They want to know what it looks like and what the components look like and what the gameplay really is, and so the community demands it too, and I think that's a lot of pressure. And so, I mean, really, just to keep pace, I don't see how you could play a game 15 times and get a review out in a timely manner. It just seems impossible.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. For like Rodney and them guys, I'm sure it is. Although Rodney does plan his months in advance, from what I understand, from talking to him a few times. It's not like me. It's like I thought after I had some free time with the job thing that I could do that, and it's not working out that way. But my schedule is usually when I do that talking tabletop episode. That week I'm usually filming the overview video, which takes me the longest. And then the following week, like on Monday, we play the game, and then it goes up on Wednesday. It's or parts of it does. I was hoping to get more time to kind of focus on the quality a little bit more since I had the time, but it's just with Jen going all that stuff with Jen, that's just not happening. Although I am going to start planning out like the overview videos a little bit more and get the games together before we sit down to the table. Yeah, but it's I was going back and forth on dropping that whole overview thing. It's
really?
Yeah, it's a lot of work for me. I don't script anything, so that's partial to do with it. It's so I'm good doing stuff, and then I got to retake stuff and go back because I forgot a rule, or something like that. It is a lot of work, and usually during the gameplay video, oh, you there? We lost her. Give me a second, folks. Well, this is the first. She's coming back now. Sorry about that. It happens. It's Google.
Son of a gun.
Yeah. It's the first time, but I was expecting it.
It's bound to happen sooner or later.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, like I said, usually during the gameplay video, I give a basic rules explanation within the first 5 minutes anyway. Very basic. What I found with the overview videos is I'm just beating them to death. I'm going into every rule, and I haven't figured out that line, what's important and what's not. So for a while I was going back and forth whether to cut them out or not. I still am. But I got a few comments that says that overview video in particular has helped a few people out, so that's kind of why I'm still doing them. Like I said, it's a learning curve. Before I used to do solo plays, and then I brought Jen in to not only get a female, but kind of make it more interesting. You know, I'm a little monotoned, laid back, I guess. You know, some people found that boring.
Mhm.
Yeah, so we'll see. It's the channel's ever changing. Just because, like I am, it's my skill level, and I plan to do a new intro and all that. I have a vision for something in my head for that. It's just I don't have the skills to do it yet. So I've been on the computer trying to figure out how to do it. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
it's
I have no knowledge about that, and uh I remember somebody once criticized the in my board game breakfast segment. It's got this domino falling effect, and somebody was like, God, your intro is so long, like, can you come up with something different? I'm like, no, because I didn't make that. Tom made that. Like, I have no idea how that worked. Or my intro in the board game blender show, like, Z did all of that. I shoot the video, I put a couple extra seconds in the front so they can cut it together, and that is where my knowledge ends. So coming up with a new intro, that's like, that would be so incredibly intimidating to me, because I'd have no idea how to do that.
yeah. It's like I said, it's a learning curve. I know Tom uses that Fiverr a lot, or is that what it's called?
Oh, yeah, Fiverr, yeah, where you pay
Yeah,
$5 for whatever, yeah. Oh,
he uses that a lot. I think
the
that's what.
secret is revealed.
Because I was asking Chaz Barler about his intro. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know if he did that or it was something that Tom did, and he said, "No, Tom picked it." Because I was curious why his segment was called "Head in the Clouds," and his intro was an underwater scene. You know?
Right? I know.
And he said, "No, Tom picked that out," and then he explained the Fiverr thing.
Oh, that makes sense. That makes so much sense. That's kind of cool, though. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, $5 would be a lot easier than trying to figure it out on your own. You know?
there you go. Yeah.
But
Um, yeah, I can't think of a single thing I do that somebody would pay me $5 to do, like, other than my job. Like, yeah, that's kind of cool that people have that network. That's cool. Hmm.
yeah, it's like I said. When I started this, I knew, like, I was a carpenter and a mechanic on a train. I knew
Mhm.
nothing. And I had I dealt with computers a little bit, like with the trains. It's an old system. They were running off of DOS pretty much, But I knew nothing about video editing and all that. And it's like you go on the internet to try and find stuff out, but it's just information is so overwhelming. There's so much you don't know where to start out with. It's taken me a while to figure out who's the best source to go to and all that. But
Mm.
it it's a lot. It's been a huge learning curve for me, especially the editing software I use.
What do you use?
Premiere, Adobe Premiere. But that was a huge learning curve.
Oh my gosh, I can only imagine. I don't use Premiere. I edit my videos using the free Windows Movie Maker software that comes installed with Windows.
Okay.
It's so pathetic, but that's what I use, because I mean, Premiere's, yikes.
Nah. Well, if that's what works for you, I mean, I did the first video I did, which never got aired. I did use Movie Maker, but there were certain things I wanted to do. I just couldn't do it with that.
Hmm.
And I tried a couple others before I actually ended up with Adobe. But
Hmm.
a lot of it was I don't move the camera. It sits
Hmm.
there on the tripod, and I'll just
Hmm.
digitally zoom it in and out.
Hmm.
And some of the effects and all that with the cards and all that. That's basically why I went to Premiere, because with that and like After Effects, you can pretty much do anything you wanted to. You can make a movie with that if you
Oh
wanted
yeah,
to.
people do. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Uh,
like I
well,
said,
now I know who to go to when I have questions. Like, if I ever have to when I have to upgrade my software, I know who to call.
I'd go with Rodney. He probably knows a lot more than I do.
Yeah. But
He is the best out there with the playthrough things, anyway, in my opinion. Yeah.
he's got it down to an art, that is for sure. Plus, he's got the whole Canadian thing going for him, so whatever.
Yeah. I don't want to keep you too long.
No, yeah, it's cool. Thanks.
No problem. Now I've been doing this. I stole this thing off of Lance, but I'll ask you 3 questions. All
All
right.
right.
So the first one's, what's a board game that you hate and everybody else loves?
What is a board game that I hate that everybody else loves? God, with my kind of broad taste in board games, it's hard to say because I like so many. I actively do not ever want to play Race for the Galaxy.
Oh, really?
Yep. Just I find it difficult to like there was just too much for me to pick up when I tried the game. It was just there were so many icons and so many strategic options, and you had to read every card, and you pick the different phases, and if the phase was active, then this part of the card was active. Oh my god, like I would say I had a negative experience learning that game, and I no desire. So, but I love Roll for the Galaxy. Roll for the Galaxy is awesome. So
Yeah, I was just going to ask you that.
Yep.
Yeah, I have Race for the Galaxy. I never played it because of what you're saying. Getting all the icons down and all that. A couple guys at Beer Mongers love the game, and I've been trying to get to the table with them, but it just hasn't happened. But
yeah, I mean, obviously it's a huge hit and people love it, and it's very highly ranked on BGG. But yeah, I'll pass. Thanks.
Okay, now what's the reverse of that? What's one that you love and everybody else hates?
One that I love that everybody else hates. Should have been more prepared for these questions.
I like to surprise people.
I don't think Robo Rally counts because not everybody hates Robo Rally, right?
I never played it.
You've never played Robo Rally? What is your problem? Oh my gosh.
I don't need. Is it in print still?
Yeah, totally.
Okay. Yeah, never.
Oh, I can't. I'm thinking through my collection and I can't think of one. I'm gonna completely fail. I'm looking over my shoulder at the stack of new games I have over here. I can't think of one. I will say that I know a lot of like in the board gaming community, like when I went to conventions and talk about it, not to me a surprisingly few number of board gamers have a history with traditional card games like spades and euchre and pinochle, which is my personal favorite. So it's interesting, if I go to BGG Con, like, I can get anybody to play Robo Rally, or I can get people to play Roll for the Galaxy, but you're like, hey, do you guys want to play pinochle? And everybody's like, oh, what, what's that? We've never heard of that, and whatever. And so, but no, I can't think of one I like that other people hate.
Okay, I meant to ask you about that. How did you feel humiliating Marty and Tony at BBG Con after all the smack talk they gave you for diamonds?
We had a lot of fun. I hopefully we all had a lot of fun playing that game. Rhiannon and Rhiannon's one of my favorite people. I just really like her, and so we had a lot of fun. The win felt pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, but like at some point, and this is why I love Rhiannon, right? At some point during the game, I started to feel a little bad with how, like, we were just beating them down, and I'm like, oh man, this is gonna be on their channel, and like we're humiliating them, and then Rhiannon was there to pull me back and be like, no, forget that, like, let's kick their butts, and that's why I love Rhiannon. The win felt really good, but they're so, Tony and Marty are two of my favorite guys, and we had a ton of fun, and I would do it again, but I don't think they would, so yeah, we'll see if they'd be up for another challenge this year.
I think they would. They just wouldn't bring a camera with them.
So they can be taught. Who said? What's the saying about old dogs and new tricks, right? And now I just call them old, so I can't tell if I want them to watch this video now or if I don't want them to watch the video.
And Marty's getting used to calling old. You apparently haven't watched Al Boom too much. All right. Last one is what conspiracy theory do you buy into, if you do?
What conspiracy theory do I buy into? Oh man, all of them, man. Come on. Like, I do not underestimate just how devious, maniacal, and manipulative the human race can be. So, yeah, I'm down with most of them. Although I do believe in the moon landing.
Okay.
Like I'm aces with that, and the beautiful history of astronauts who've sacrificed so much to propel us forward to the future. But I don't know, Area 51. I'm down. Also, alligators in the sewer. I believe that one too. I'm pretty sure they're breeding a super race of reptiles in the sewers. I don't know for what purposes, but I'm a little worried.
Okay. Now, Barry Doublet asked the question here. I kind of missed it. It was on the YouTube page, but
oh, Barry.
It says, Suzanne, would you like a table-sized tablet to play games on like I do?
Yes. In fact, I don't know if Barry is, well, we all know Blessed Barry. I mean, the name, right? Only good guys have the name Barry, right? Barry Doublet. Even though he called me out on a recent episode of Board Game Breakfast. One thing we did learn is that he's a bit of a Luddite when it comes to technology and has this sad, sorry flip phone that can't play Snake. Mm-hmm. So he may not be as up to speed on modern technology as I am, the modern girl that I am. But Microsoft just re-released their Surface product called Hub, I think, the Microsoft Hub, and it's like a TV. It's because it's all about affordability, right? In mass market, they just released a TV-sized touchscreen computer that's like the next generation of Surfaces, and that could totally I'm telling you, that could totally be used. And think about Eldritch Horror. If you could set up Eldritch Horror and then one, your cat can't screw anything up if it's all digital. You could still be hanging around, and if you get tired and you want to let's take a break, you could just press a button. That would be so wicked awesome. Yes, Barry, I agree with Barry Doublet on that for sure. I also agree that Barry Doublet needs to join the new millennium and get a new phone.
Okay. Right. Well, they have tried these, tabletop things before, right? I remember 10 years ago hearing something about that. It's just like you were saying, it's too expensive to really produce them for the masses.
Yeah, Microsoft did it looked like it looked like an old school arcade unit. You used to go to the arcades and, well, I don't know if you did, but you go to the arcades and you could play Pac-Man, on it looked like a little table, like a little coffee table.
Yeah.
And so Microsoft had a product called the Surface a decade ago, and you could see them sometimes in offices and stuff like that. But it was so they were so expensive, nobody was buying them, and then nobody was if nobody buys them, nobody's gonna make interesting games for them. So you could play chess on it, yay,
yeah.
But now with more people being able to code and develop and more open source coding and things like that, programming, and now this cool new thing from Microsoft where it's this, you could literally take that thing and put it on a table and play on it. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see a lot of people getting, especially miniature gamers and stuff like that. I could see a lot of people wanting to something like that.
Mm. Let's make it happen. Let's start the wave of like people crying out for that. But I don't know, Barry, you don't like digital games, right? So maybe that's not your thing. Or because it would be like a tabletop thing where you could like gather around and something like, is that like more appealing to you?
I think it would be if you're with other people, with like I was saying with the miniature. I never played any miniature games, but I think that would make it more accessible because you're not keeping track of stats and all that,
That's a good point.
and rules and stuff like that. It
Hmm.
would be all built in. But yeah,
Hmm.
if I were hanging around a table with a group of people, I think I would do that. Um, I used to play some video games when I was like a teenager with a friend of mine, so I'm not totally, I don't hate technology, but uh, like I said, with board games, I'd rather do the physical.
Hmm. So really, you're a tactile social butterfly, is what I'm walking away with here, Barry.
Depends on the person actually, but yeah.
Throw a little beer in there, and maybe it'll make it better.
Yeah, yeah. Well, um, uh, I'm really not that social. That's the thing. It's like it took a lot for me to go to beer mongers to meet all the new people and all that. I don't like crowds. I never
Mm,
did. Um, I guess it's kind of a middle child thing. It's
interesting.
being the center of attention, like we were talking about before. I'm just not used to that. I don't like being the center of attention. Jen says that all the time. You have a hard time taking a compliment. It's like, usually it's just I'm doing my job or something. It's, it's no big deal to me. But yeah, I'm not really that social butterfly.
Well, you reached out to me, and I thought that was really nice. So thank you for that. It's been nice getting to know you a little bit better.
Oh, same here. Yeah. Like I said, it takes me a while to warm up to people, but once I do,
Good to know. Good to know.
Now, if you met somebody on the street just getting in the hobby, what advice would you give to them?
Keep an open mind. Look at what, find a box that looks interesting. Ask questions, right? Um, I think in that scenario, I have more, you know, advice for the person who's teaching the game to hopefully make it a positive experience for the noobs. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of uh, stereotypes about gamers, and some of them are deserved and some of them aren't. And so for somebody new, I'm like, just put those aside, just give it a try. Right? It's like trying a new food from some weird country that looks or smells funny. Like, give it a try. You don't know. You may have a new favorite. I mean, what if you thought cold food was weird and you never tried ice cream for the first time? Like, that would be horrible. So, yeah, for people just trying to just keep an open mind and give it a try and ask questions and have fun.
That's good advice. Now you brought up the art cover. It's funny you did. Jamie and I were just talking about that a couple days ago.
Hmm.
Um, which game was it? It was one of them Euro games. I can't remember the name of it now. It wasn't Concordia, or maybe it was.
It could have been Concordia.
I think yeah, it was. He said he put off playing that for months because of the cover. And then he played it and he thinks it's a wonderful game.
Yeah.
Are you that way? Like, are you an impulse buyer with the covers? Or
No.
okay.
No. Oh, yeah. That's uh uh the only thing I don't buy, like you have to talk me into buying, is anything related with zombies. Because I actively dislike the theme because I'm my conspiracy theory, right? I believe them all. Like, I'm terrified. I have this irrational fear of zombies. And so it's not that I object morally or anything to zombies or, anything like that. It's just, no, I'm actually terrified of them. And so I don't buy zombie games. So if there's a zombie on the cover, I'm out. Like, you have to talk. So, like, Dead of Winter, I will play because, it's Dead of Winter. But Zombicide, forget it. I want nothing to do with Zombicide, right? Um, but no, I mean, that's something I learned. I mean, Kalis, right? Kalis is one of my favorite games, and that the Kalis King is so dorky. He's a meme, right? And so no, that's other than the zombie thing. I think you got to be open to themes. Like one of the things that annoyed me about the Secret Cabal guys was they were making fun, except for Chris, they were making fun of Rococo, right? Because it's making dresses, it's making clothes, and um, drove me nuts because it's such a great game. I mean, yeah, so the theme is about making garments. So what? Like, that's not, to me, that wasn't a great reason to not try a game that is being highly, like applauded from a lot of people. But at the same time, I hate zombies, so each to their own.
Hmm.
But no, it's tough. Like, you just wish publishers would be smarter with their box covers because especially for like newbies, if they're making decisions or choices with no other information, like if they're not reading BGG every day or whatever, yeah, pass on Concordia, pass on Hansa Teutonica, pass on Brass. Like, no, thank you. Those look incredibly, boring. So it's too bad.
Yeah, yeah, it is. I actually, after we were discussing it, I thought, I kind of fall in the same boat with Jamie. Not knowingly, but
Totally.
yeah, and don't worry, I got made fun of over Coco too. I was asking Chris about it because I was thinking about it for my family. I
Mhm.
think that would be something the women folk here would get into making dresses. Yeah, but the theme itself didn't bother me. It's a euro, whatever. Their
Oh,
euros are loosely based on theme anyway.
exactly. Yeah. It's like what Uwe Rosenberg, right? He has a new two-player out called Patchwork, which is like about quilting.
Hmm.
Again, not a traditional board game theme and not a traditionally like masculine, manly, theme. But everybody I know who's played it loves it. Like it's a really strategic, interesting, spatial two-player game with, quilting as a theme, which is funny because you hear a lot of people talk about how they wish there was more diversity in themes, right? They get tired of trading in the Mediterranean or zombies. But then, people do something like Rococo or people do something like Patchwork and then they make fun of it because it's got a feminine theme. So it's too bad.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. All right. So, if you talk to somebody just who decided they wanted to do a segment on board game breakfast, what advice would you give to them?
Do whatever you can to, first of all, do it. Absolutely do it. If you're interested in making board game related content, go for it. It's a lot of hard work, as Barry, you can attest to, right? Um, but it's really rewarding and it's a lot of fun once you get into it. Um, in like a board game breakfast scenario, just give it a try. Put together a sample of what you're thinking of doing and email it, put it on YouTube or whatever, and then email a link to Tom and he will totally look at it. Um, Specific advice, though, what I'll say to you is do anything you can to get your production quality up. So have high quality video, good lighting, and then high quality audio because it makes a huge difference in just how people respond to your segment. But go for it.
Yeah, yeah, the audio. I'm struggling with that now myself, but yeah.
It's tough. It's tough. I ended up having to ask Scott King, the board game photographer, um, for advice on lighting because I had no, like, that's totally foreign to me. I had
Yeah.
no clues, and he was really kind enough to make a couple recommendations. So hopefully that'll help me when I get that set up.
Oh yeah, yeah. It does. I have issues. I whitewash stuff sometimes because of the limited space I have. I can't pull the lights away far enough.
Oh yeah.
I actually in the other room when I was filming in there, I had a homemade softbox, and it'd be like staring into the sun sometimes. But um, I'm, I'm struggling with the lighting in here now. And the audio is my biggest problem with Jen. She fidgets, so I can't put like a lav mic on her, you know, or something right in front of her because she bangs on the table constantly. You know,
Yep.
so I'm still trying to. I might boom something over. I don't know yet, but working on that. But yeah, that is good advice with the audio and lighting and all that. All right, so like I said, I don't want to keep you too long.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank everybody for watching. I want to talk to you when we go off for a little bit, if that's okay.
No problem.
I never know how to end these things, so.
Well, thanks for having me on. It was a lot of fun to talk to you, and it's nice because you asked me questions that weren't related to apps, which I get. I have no problem talking about digital games all day long, but it was nice to talk about non-digital games a little too. So thanks for that, Barry. I really appreciate that.
Oh, thanks for coming on. Yeah.
Absolutely, anytime.
All right, so good night, folks.